You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily represent those of the network, its advertisers, owners, or sponsors.
I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar. I said, hey, ladies, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, ladies, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. You're welcome to drink our whiskey and smoke our really fine cigars. One more time, boys. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna smoke a really good cigar and drink a really fine whiskey. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey.
All right, there it is.
Man Cave.
It is
Happy
time
hour.
for the Man Cave Happy Hour.
Yes, it is.
It's about that time. It is Pat Akerley there launching us off with a brand new intro song. Pat, thank you, sir.
I was introduced to Pat as Tool a long time ago.
Long time ago. Yes. So the Man Cave Happy Hour, we like to talk about spirits, the people that make them, the people that mix them, the people that serve them, and the people that drink them and enjoy them, and all the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan along with...
My name is Matthew Fox.
And it's the Man Cave Happy Hour. We have a couple of guests with us today, sitting across from me.
Tony Batou.
Hey, Tony. Tony is the owner of the Wine Garden. It's an incredible store in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. Just an amazing selection of wines, the Wine Garden, but more importantly, spirits, and even more importantly, bourbons. And so much so that there's crazy clubs that have sprung up around town and through social media, like Facebook. There's the Michigan Bourbon Club, and with us from the Michigan Bourbon Club,
Patrick Moore.
Patrick Moore is my favorite person.
All right.
So yeah, it's a Man Cave Happy Hour. We're going to just talk a little bit about that and what is going on in the bourbon world. Our travel guy Mike is en route, got lost.
He's traveling. Yes,
isn't the deal. So we're going to kick it off with you guys talking about a little bit of traveling that you just did recently. You guys took a trip down to Kentucky,
Yes,
and picked a few barrels, right? How many barrels total did you guys put your stamp on?
4 barrels.
Four different barrels.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does that mean that you went down and picked a barrel? What does that mean?
So the way it starts is all 4 barrels were done differently. Some we actually had to make a blend of.
Mhm.
Some we had to buy a single barrel of. And some were barrel proof, unchilled filtered. So there were 4 different ways of doing 4 different barrels.
Okay. All right. So these are all different distilleries that you visited as well?
They were 3 different
distilleries. Okay. So what, let's start out. Where did you go first? What was the first distillery that you visited?
Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
That is a fan favorite, right?
Yeah, it's really nice there. Really, really nice there. The grounds are amazing.
Now, did you tour the facility as well, or did you just go in and say, I want that barrel and leave? Or
We toured a little bit. We kind of walked around. It's not gigantic. Like Buffalo Trace is a really large place.
Okay.
Maker's Mark, and it's not small by any means, but it's smaller. It's there's a river or a stream that runs through the middle of the property, so it's very scenic. I took more pictures of outside with the trees and the old houses and the stuff more than I did inside. But yeah, it's really awesome there.
Okay.
Nice.
So Tony, you guys were able to pick a barrel there. What type of barrel did you select? What was that selection process?
So we actually didn't pick a barrel from there. We actually made a blend,
Okay.
with the staves. So they gave us 5 different staves.
Okay.
Okay. And we were able to do a blend of 5 staves, 2 staves apiece at least.
Okay.
up to 10 different staves to make a blend. So what we had, and Patrick will elaborate on that.
Let's
had
rewind a little
bunch of
bit. What's
people.
a stave?
Yeah.
So a stave is what makes each barrel.
Okay.
A lot of staves together will make one barrel.
Okay.
That's one little piece of the barrel.
Okay.
That's called a stave.
Is it like a big glass test tube of the blend, or is it a big
No.
glass? What is a stave?
A stave is just the wood.
Oh, the wood.
It's,
Okay.
it's the one piece that's cut
Oh,
to make the barrel together.
okay.
Barrels have different size. You know,
Yes.
barrels made up of staves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's
okay.
different sizes that put together, and what they do is they have a flavored stave.
Okay.
So there's 5 different flavors of stave.
Ah.
And you sit there and you blend. You can say, I want 3 of the Maker's Mark 46 staves. I want 2 of the French Cuvée stave for a total of 10. And then when you sit there and you get to taste and you get to try your concoction, and then you say, no, let's try something else. Let's replace this one with this one and do this again. And then we tried number 2 and we're like, oh, this is a little better, but maybe we want to go this way. And the way we did it was, because there was a larger group, we had 2 tables. So my table, and Tony was at another table, we got 3 tries. And the third one, we thought, this is it. This is the one that we're going to pick. And we're all kind of talking back and forth like, you guys are going to pick ours. We're better than you.
Yeah.
So they made one, and then we did a blind taste test. So the guy that was running the tasting said, okay, this is table A, this is table B. Everybody pick.
Okay.
So
So
Tony,
one of the best
Tony
things
won.
about Man Cave Happy Hour is that we are total novices. We know
Right.
nothing about how it's made, the process behind a stave.
Yeah, I would have
what
called it
have
a slat. So basically, the different slats of the barrel are these different staves,
Yeah.
and then the bourbon draws its flavor from a lot of the flavor comes from the wood that
wood.
it's encased in,
Correct.
forever how long it's in there.
Right.
And so these different staves are flavored. How are they flavored? Are they like pressure infused, or how are they?
So they're not flavored.
Okay,
So
I
each
use
wood,
that term loosely.
different
sorry.
word. Okay, fair play. Then again, that's why we're trying to figure out.
each wood acts and tastes differently. They don't really char this wood. They basically bake it
Okay,
instead of charring the barrel like a bourbon barrel.
sure.
So they're put it in the ovens at different degrees to get that. Every wood has the pores get in there at a certain temperature.
Okay.
So once you do that, and then you take this piece of stave
Yes.
and you introduce it to a bourbon, is going to change the total taste of the bourbon.
Okay.
So if you know that Maker's 46, the name was called after project number 46 that
Okay.
actually worked.
Okay.
And it is a French staves that they use in there.
Okay.
And they leave it in the barrels for 9 weeks in the cold environment. And then that's the pot. So they're not trying to introduce heat to it.
Okay.
It's just they're trying to release all the flavors from that stave to it.
All right. So this is pretty interesting. So how are you able to, because it's got to live in there to really draw that characteristic from that wood that it's touching. So how are you able to just do it on site and test it and taste it? How's that process? Are they like little paint sticks, or little toothpicks, or popsicle sticks you're putting
They
in?
do
What
a
is it?
barrel with like all of the Maker's 46.
Okay.
So then there's a jar full of the Maker's 46 that came out of one barrel, so it's all Maker's 46. Then there's a jar with all French Cuvée, and then there's a jar with another one, and then another
Okay.
one. So then you make your concoction, and then you say, okay, we got the winner, and we had 10 staves. So what they do is they take those 10 staves, and they hang them on an aluminum piece,
Right.
and then you put them in the barrel. They put the barrel top on, then they turn it on its side, and they fill up the barrel with regular Maker's Mark.
Okay.
Which is the cask strength.
Cast
Okay.
strength, yeah.
Yes.
So full flavor, full proof.
Okay.
At
then-
probably about 122-ish.
Yeah.
So you're
And
working
then-
with a liquid, right? And you have the bare bones of this liquid, the bare bones of this liquid, and the bare bones of that liquid, and you're combining those, 1 part that, 2 part that, and then I get it now.
So,
I'm
and
on
then
the,
when you're
I'm
done,
on the right page.
he was talking about it. It was really cool. They have they carved into the side of a hill this big room where all the Maker's Mark private select barrels sit. So once you fill it up and everybody signs it and you're good to go, they roll it off and then they stick it in this room, which is 55 degrees all the time. It's
all the
very
time.
cool. And thank God it was, because when we were down there, it was 100+ degrees.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
100% humidity. So we all kind of just hung on that room
Of
for a
course.
while. We're like, I'm going to go over there, hang out with the barrels.
Yeah.
So you started at Maker's Mark. So what was your next destination that you ended up at for your first barrel?
Go drink some more.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
right.
fair enough.
I wasn't done at Maker's Mark.
You're not
I was-
done at Maker's Mark
LBC
yet?
I'm going in
Kitchen.
for seconds.
Yeah.
How long
Yeah,
is
that's
that
right,
barrel going to
OBC.
sit with those staves in it? Right? How long is it going to sit?
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Nine.
It's a
Okay, it's a
9
9-week process.
Yep.
Can it be longer? Or is 9 weeks? That's all you're going to get, really? Or is
That's their magic number.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what
They
feel
must have something going
produces
on.
the best.
Okay. So I was, I wasn't like really projecting. It's like, wow, okay. So in 2 years we'll see you guys, or in 12 years, come on back. So but it's a 9-week thing.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
it is. That's the reason why they build that cave, because that project only works when the barrel is cool, not when the barrel is hot. So the Maker's 46, for the longest time since they created it, would only be in the cold months from like September to like April in Kentucky.
Right.
They were only able to produce that. So they made that cave so that way they're able to put those barrels to sleep all year long. And the thing, the reason why is only like 1/4 of it is in the cave and the other part of it outside of the cave, because it wouldn't be called bourbon if you store it in the basement.
Okay.
So you cannot store stuff in the basement. Otherwise it wouldn't be called. And it's probably hazardous or, flammable materials, so they won't allow them.
Alcohol being flammable. Sure, why not?
It's the best kind. It's the best kind of drink. The flammable kind.
So there you go. So it's on a 9-week hibernation.
Yep.
It's going to come on out, and so it's just the regular strength, or do you know the strength of what's going in?
Yeah, so it's going in at probably between 125, 126.
Okay.
And then when they bring it out, they water it down to 120.
Okay.
So it's just close to a barrel proof,
Right.
right? 120.
Yeah, I think it was 120.
Yeah, so it's right at the barrel proof, but with taking the guess out of the barrel proof. So
Sure.
not one barrel is 125, one barrel is 122 if other people do it.
And these
so
are
they
the-
just cap it at that one
And
number.
those are called the private signature, the private
Private
select.
select.
Private selection.
blend? Wow, private selections. All right. And so is that something unique to Maker's Mark, or do most distilleries do something of that ilk?
As far as I know, it's just Maker's Mark that does that process, right?
Yeah, that process only to Maker's Mark. The staves, they probably technically own that. No
Sure,
one
The
does
process
staves
of it. Yep.
infusion with flavor. But I did do 2 times Angel's Envy blending,
Yeah.
and that was totally
You're talking
different
his
process.
language over here, man. You said Angel's
Yeah.
Envy. You're talking his
Yeah.
language.
It's been a little bit because they
stopped
don't
doing that.
have any barrels right now, but
Okay.
they're working
trying to
on
catch
other.
up.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'd love to do an Angel's Envy blend.
Yeah.
I'm also a fan of Angel's Envy.
Yes. Enjoyed, because we were down at the Sugar House, and we did a tasting, and they had the cask strength, which is few and far between these days.
Yeah.
It
So
was
although I
amazing.
noticed you had 2 on the shelf, I was in your store the other day. There
Yes,
there
sir.
were 2 down at the wine garden. Are they still there?
There was one earlier today when I
Okay,
left.
right on.
So,
Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Perfect.
Matt's tires are squealing out of here. Oh, so your question was.
No, yeah. After Maker's Mark, you guys, you toured it. You had a great time.
Right.
Your next destination when you left, where you looked at the map and you're like, all right, now we need to go get a barrel. Where did you go?
We actually went to OBC Kitchen, which
Okay.
has the best bacon
Ooh.
ever.
Nice.
Bacon and peanut butter that you
Have
dip it
to
in.
agree.
It's amazing. So after that, we didn't do any more barrels that day. The next day, our first stop was Old Barton House.
Old Barton House. Okay.
So that's the place that had just had the rick house fall down.
Oh, yes.
Right.
So, but they have a lot of rick houses, and that one was pretty far off. So we didn't get to go see it, unfortunately. We asked if we could just go get a barrel from there.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't
We'll
let us.
scavenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got a thermos.
Yeah, absolutely. So we picked 1792 full proof was our pick there at
Wow.
Barton. So
that was one of the 4 that you got.
one of the 4, yeah. So number 2.
Okay.
So,
that
all right.
morning.
So you go in and you pick a foolproof barrel. Do you taste it to see if you like it, or you just get the number on it, or what is that process?
They wheeled out.
Go ahead.
They wheeled out 6 barrels for us at Barton. So you line them up on the ground, and then you're given 2 glasses. So they put one glass in the front, and there's a row of front glasses and one glass in the back. So what they do is they put it all foolproof up front, straight from the barrel, which ended up being high 120s, low 130s for most of them, I think.
Okay.
So, and they filled them up pretty high, so because there were so many people tasting. And then the back when they don't fill up as much, and then they water it down to what it's going to be when you actually get it at 125. So
okay.
that way, you know, when you taste this one, because bourbon tastes very different sometimes from foolproof right out of the barrel, and then water it down, it gives it a chance to open up. Some notes change, flavors change. So, you know, if you pick one and you're like, oh, I love this barrel proof one, I want this one, and then you get it, and you're like, oh man, I like this one better when it was watered down. So
Sure. Now those are all watered down to be a consistent
125.
125.
Foolproof is always 1792 Foolproof is the brand name.
Yes.
So there's always 125.
Okay. How many? So you get this barrel, right? So you guys, how many guys went down on this adventure, and why?
This one
Seemed like
was a bunch of guys. It was like 11 or 12 guys and
There.
4 ladies.
Yeah, there was a handful of wives there. So all right, so you get good 15 people. Are you guys buying? How much was it to purchase that 1792 barrel?
Well, it depends on how much it yields, but approximately, you're looking at like $65 times maybe 200 bottles.
Okay.
Wow.
10 to 15,000 per
10
barrel.
10 to 15,000.
All right.
Depending on what the
yeah.
yield is, as he said.
So that's quite the undertaking.
Yeah.
That's the investment as well.
That's,
There's
yeah.
quite the investment under that. Yeah.
So, wow. All right.
love that.
So how many cases, how many bottles usually come out? You said how many bottles? 200, you said?
About 40 6-packs, 43 6-packs, 41 6-packs. You just don't know. It depends
Right.
on how much that barrel yield.
Right,
Did it
right.
have a leakage? Did it have a lot of angel share?
Yeah.
No one knows until they actually go to put it in.
But
in
it's not
bottles.
the price per barrel; it's price per the bottle.
It's
that
bar-
you get.
yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever it gets
Well,
to
that's
me.
fair. That's actually fair. Than yeah.
You always hope for a high angel share because you figure if they want it, it's got to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I like that. So, but like 10 grand plus for a barrel. That's crazy. So is a lot of this going into stock at the store? Are you guys getting all of it?
So the store gets all of it, but it'll probably be pretty much sold before it gets here.
Right. So the Michigan Bourbon Club, Patrick, let's pause on our barrels. We're halfway through our barrel picks down there right now. We're 2 for 2. So the Michigan Bourbon Club, a lot of these guys, all these guys were part of the Michigan Bourbon Club, and they went down. What is the Michigan Bourbon Club?
The Michigan Bourbon Club is a group I started last February, so February of
So
2000.
this is your fault.
Yeah, it's all
My
fault.
wife wants to talk to you.
Yeah, a lot of wives want to talk to me. So it's been just over a year and a half now, and we've got about 3,000 members, which is amazing.
Okay.
So I started the group. There were some groups around, but it seemed like they were just happy being, talking about what they were drinking. And then I approached the people that ran the group and I said, hey, I was thinking about trying to do some meetups, maybe trying to get with some stores and doing some barrel picks. And they just weren't interested. And they told me,
Okay.
we don't want to do that. Go start your own thing.
You're like,
okay.
All
So
right.
I started the Michigan Bourbon Club and instantly made a large purchase. We ordered, I think, like 37 bottles of Blanton's straight from the barrel, which you're not allowed to get in Michigan or in Ohio, in United States. Actually,
Oh.
they only ship that stuff elsewhere.
Right.
The only Blanton's, we get one Blanton's, and there's 4 or 5 different ones to choose from. So
Okay.
we got a large order, and it worked out. And it just kind of took off from there because people were like, holy cow, let's do this again. And actually, the company we ordered from the website changed the rules right after we got 37 bottles. You're only allowed 2 per person.
Oh.
But,
So that's where the club starts. So
That's
you're
where I
going to get
started
2,
the
you're
club.
going to get 2.
Yep. So after that, it just kind of took off. I got with Tony almost a month or two after starting the club because
Okay.
I wanted to get my own barrel.
Sure.
So I approached a couple store owners, and they kind of laughed at me. They didn't know if I was serious. They're like, "Yeah, you want a whole barrel?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Like, I have this group of guys,
I
and they
am
want to buy
thirsty.
the barrel. Yeah. So nobody wanted to give me the time of day, and Tony was instantly, "Yes, let's do this. Let's make this happen." And I'm like, "Well, I'd really like to get something. I know I'm brand new, and you don't know me, but I'd like to get something good. Like, I don't want the run of the mill."
Sure.
He's
So how long ago was that?
That was April of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we did
Year
a
and a few months
Blanton's
now.
barrel.
Nice.
So it was just amazing. Blanton's is what got me started in bourbon. That's my gateway drug, kind of. You know?
Nice.
Bland's bottles. So it was super exciting. We all went down there. There was 4 or 5 of us who went down on the pick, and we got our first barrel. And from then on, it's been crazy. So barrels sell in minutes.
So there you go. So yeah, you have 200 bottles to move, but there's 3,000 members,
Right.
and you have out of those 3,000, you're going to be able to move those. Yeah. So.
Hopefully. I mean, I'm
Lots
not
of unhappy people.
I'm not trying to be cocky, but it's
No, I know.
it's-
I've tried. I've been able to get tickets to a couple tastings, but I have not scored on a bottle.
A
yet.
bottle, yeah. So we went through some growing pains there. We opened it up to the Blantons was very well. It was well received, and everybody liked it. And then I figured that was just the way to go. We'll post it, say, "Hey, it's for sale now. Who wants in?" And it filled up so quick. And then we realized there are people that weren't participating in the group that were lurkers, which is fine. We're more than happy to have those people too. But we wanted to be able to put the bottles in the hands of the people that contribute to the group and give bottles away and make it to the meetups and want to be, in with the group and be a part of it. So we kind of changed it up a little bit after that, and we did. We do a raffle style now.
Right.
So you put your name. If you want to get in, you're more than welcome to get in. And we have a list of, say, 300-400 people, but we only have 150 bottles. So
Sure.
we try to do it fair, and then there's,
It is a community atmosphere. Those
Right.
that want to, pay to participate. Here we go.
Yeah.
And you have to like be actively posting in the group,
Absolutely.
not just
Right.
like, but
Right.
actually putting pictures up and,
Yeah, 'cause
and,
when you
and
say-
adding and sharing to the content, which
Yeah.
makes it fun.
Yeah, we make people say that, because a lot of times people don't read what I'm
Right.
telling them. They just want in.
That was my
Right.
first 2
So-
bottles. I'm like, what the heck, man? I was in.
Yeah. So you have to be an active NBC member, and we do check. There's a list of 350
do?
people, and we have some more people to help now. We just have the mods check because that's such a pain in the butt to
Yeah.
go through every person and make sure that they are actually an active member.
Right.
So
All right. So you'll be able to move those bottles once they come in.
I hope. Yes.
We're at Makers. Otherwise, yeah, remortgaging
Oh, we're
the house
gonna
to pay
sell.
for
I mean,
booze. Yeah.
they'll. We have
move.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
I mean, there's no reason
I mean,
not
I-
to. This stuff we're getting. We have. We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's, we
Yeah, I
picked
mean,
some good
the
stuff.
wine garden have fans too. So
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
well, and
Absolutely.
and you guys you sell them at the state minimum price, so you're not gouging.
It-
You're like,
No.
hey,
well,
that
state
is, like,
minimum
super
plus
fair.
few percentage. It maybe a couple bucks.
Yeah.
To be honest, some are at state minimum right now at the store.
Right.
I have a Maker's Mark, a Buffalo Trace,
Yeah.
and then I had the Maker's Mark Private Select. That was 8 state minimum. But sometimes we do sell over the state minimum because we take that trip. We have to spend the money on to rent a house,
a very
or a hotel.
Yep.
Drive my car, my gas. Take 3-4 days out of work.
It's a literal
You know.
business trip, is what it comes down to.
We
A
each
fun business
probably
trip.
Oh yeah.
we probably each spend about $1,000,
Yep.
dining and
Yeah.
Yeah, I spent
it's-
$1,000. My wife and I down there
Yeah.
just for 3 days.
Ouch.
Between
Believe
housing
it.
and gas, and
Yeah.
food
Believe
and
that.
booze, and
How I spent my summer vacation. Right.
it was fun. Let me
a
tell
lot
you.
of fun. Had a
All right.
great time.
So we were at Maker's Mark, and then we went over to get a bottle of the 1792 or a barrel 1792. Then where did you guys go? What was next on the trip?
Our second appointment of the day was at Buffalo Trace. So we were doing an OWA pick, Weller 107.
Okay.
And then also our first barrel of Sisterhood of the Barrel. So if anybody not familiar with the Brotherhood of the Barrel, it's the name of our barrel picking. So right now, when we pick a barrel, it's always called Brotherhood of the Barrel.
And there's cool either like a badge or a sticker that goes
Correct.
on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the glasses that we have here has the Brotherhood of the Barrel on it.
Buffalo Trace.
That Buffalo Trace has that Brotherhood of the Barrel.
Yeah.
So we
Oh,
have
there it
our
is. Yeah.
our first Buffalo Trace sisterhood of the barrel.
Okay.
Is that the wives?
Only
or-
yes,
the
all the
ladies?
wives.
There's a lot of ladies in the club. You said it about
ladies of the
3,000. How
NBC.
many?
The
And they
ladies
started like an offshoot, right?
You have the lady, my wife, and Travis. Travis's wife started a group for the ladies of NBC, so they have a Facebook page, Ladies of NBC, which
Right.
they talk about not just bourbon because they're not. My wife's not really into bourbon, but she
Right.
likes good wine and good drinking and good fun. So
Sure.
they all talk about it, and they all have something in common to where all the husbands are talking about it all the time. So it's definitely
Gives
a
them
lot of
something
fun.
to talk about.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
We're not just sitting off in a corner and they're like, "What in the world are they talking about?" So.
Gotcha.
All right, so we were picking Buffalo Trace, right? So what did we pick there, and what's the process at the Buffalo Trace?
So at
distillery?
Buffalo Trace is very straightforward. You're gonna get a 90 proof,
Okay.
but it's a single barrel versus what you get at the store as a small batch.
So
Small batch is when bunch of barrels I'll put together
okay,
to make one batch, and they bottle,
Like that
and that
Elijah
goes
Craig.
they go to all the stores.
right.
Where the single barrel, like the Buffalo Trace that we have on the
Sure,
table,
sure.
it's all from just one barrel.
Okay.
So after we picked the barrel that we want, and
Mm-hmm.
they had 3 barrels there, and then they have the high proof and then the lower down proof to 90 proof.
Okay.
We taste them, we pick the one we want, and then we tell them that's the one we want, and then they bottle it according to what sizes we want, and they
Okay.
send it to the store. Now that's called a single barrel because all the bottles came from just one barrel.
Okay. So there's a consistency in that. It's going to be
Well, there's actually the opposite of consistency.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. from
Each
from
barrel
each
tastes
barrel-
bottle. No, I mean from bottle to bottle of
Well,
that.
but bottle to
bottle.
bottle will be consistent,
Right.
correct?
all from
yeah.
the same barrel.
But the barrels
So-
aren't.
barrel to barrel
Right.
is very different. They could be sitting next to each other on the same shelf in the same rick house and taste completely different.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had a preference, would you want to do a single barrel? Or would you want to do a batch?
It's 2 different ways. Like I like both of them,
Mhm.
but there's no right or wrong about it.
Of course
Sure.
not. No,
Um,
everyone's
Most people
different.
If I,
prefer
what I would
single
like to
barrels.
do is every time is barrel proof, unchilled filtered. If I was, just whatever the proof of the barrel is. So if we take it out there, just put it in a bottle and send it. That's what I would like to have.
Because Buffalo Trace comes out at 131.
Oh yeah.
Only?
Yeah,
Do they ever do a
It's
cask
phenomenal.
strength?
they do, but it's called George Stagg Jr.
Oh, the Stag. Okay.
Yeah, the Stag
All right.
Jr.
So,
is
because
a Buffalo Trace.
but actually between, because Eagle Rare is kind of like the next step up from Buffalo Trace, right? That's their next one. I like the Buffalo Trace better than the Eagle Rare.
Oh, I don't know if it's
wouldn't call
a
it
step
step
up.
up.
Okay, fair play. Because you rolled your eyes when I said that, and it's.
I think his eyes rolled so far back he saw his ass.
price,
actually.
and price wise, it's a step up.
They're $5 difference,
Yeah.
I think, between Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare.
31 and 27.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but they're two different. I like Eagle Rare more than Buffalo Trace,
Oh,
but
okay.
I would not say it's a step up. It just depends on your flavor. Like a lot of people like Buffalo Trace more than
Yeah.
I like Eagle Rare. So,
Yeah.
Well, they both start the same recipe, same barrels. They actually, you won't see barrels that says Eagle Rare on them
Okay.
or Buffalo Trace. They don't mark them until after
They
they
taste
go to taste them. And they say, well, this is more a profile of an Eagle Rare. This
Okay.
is more a profile of Buffalo Trace.
Okay.
That's when they actually mark them down. And where they go in the warehouse, they actually tend to know if you're on the top level, if you're in the middle, or if you're in the end of at the bottom of the warehouse, like first floor versus 9th floor or 8th floor. That's where they kind of know what the brand is going to determine to be.
Wow.
Did you know that, Jamie?
I did.
and
That's
they age differently depending on the level. Like
Yeah.
your
On the
attic is
floor.
hotter than your basement.
Sure. Yeah.
So in the up top, it's going to age a lot quicker. That's when they do not rapid aging, but you can get a bourbon to taste like it's older if it's up top because it's such intense.
the
hot.
heat's rising and it's making
Yeah.
the barrels expand a little bit.
Most bourbon is counted by summers, not by winters.
Okay.
So a lot of people go, you ask him how old is this bourbon, and he'll tell you 9 summers.
Okay.
So now you know it was 9 years old.
And if you're in Michigan, that means 3.
Yeah.
Correct. That's why Scotland takes at least 12 years to come out with a product that's about 5 years of Kentucky.
Right. 'Cause
How
there's no other
long
change.
have you been running the wine garden?
Since 1995.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's right when I
So
moved.
you were 12 years old when you
That's right when I moved, because I lived right
11
down the street. I lived right on Maxine there.
Yeah.
Just down the street, the other side of Mac. But yeah, so I was just curious. So picking a barrel, right? Going out and picking a barrel, it seems like a newer trend. I mean, have you been picking barrels since '95, or is this a
2000?
newer
So
process,
people have been picking barrels way before me. There is accounts that have been picking barrels
Yeah.
before I was picking barrels. I've been picking barrels since 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
So it's been 7-8 years since I was picking barrel. I wasn't the first one to pick a barrel in Michigan, but I was the first ones to start picking more barrels.
Okay.
So there's places in Chicago, you
Sure.
know, there's a guy that we know that's been picking barrels for 30 years.
Okay.
You know? It wasn't the common thing because whiskey wasn't really selling as
Right.
well it is now.
Right.
You know, vodka was selling, so there was
Sure.
no barrels of vodka to pick.
Right.
So since then, I've been starting picking barrels. The first barrel I picked was actually at the site. They brought in samples, and then once I picked it and we sold the barrel within 2 months, I was really excited. And I'm like, now I got to go to the source.
Yeah,
And that's when I started going to Kentucky. And the first time I went to Kentucky,
The first
fell
one I
in
ran
love with
into, because I saw the labels in the store and I didn't pay it much mind because I mean there was just so much noise and I'm like, just give me this and I'm going. But the first one I really talked to somebody about was a bar called the Painted Lady in Hamtramck. Used to be Lily's. Pat and his band played
Andrew.
there a lot of times. We heard ourselves there repeatedly. In our youth. But the Painted Lady, they had Buffalo Trace as like their house whiskey, as their house bourbon. And they had picked a barrel. And they got to keep the barrel, which was cool. And so, you know, we went and we picked it and they used it for the house. And I thought that was interesting. It's like, yeah, it's consistent. When this one's gone, you know, it's gone. And I go down and I pick a different one. It might be close, but it'll be a little different. I'm like, wow, that's really cool, you know? And then I started finding out more and more about the bourbons and the barrel picks, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So
Andrew's in the group.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Dow,
All right.
owns Painted Lady, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a good guy. He was actually down there with the Beverage Warehouse people when we were there. They
Right
picked
on.
an OWA as well, I think, and
Yeah.
a Buffalo Trace.
Okay. So we have one more barrel to talk about, Pat. After that, we're gonna make you play a song. Working on it. Make sure you're tuned
Let's get
up
some
and good to
liquid
go. You're
courage
lubed
going
up.
on over there. Yeah.
So, all right. So we got we were through Buffalo Trace, and then what was the fourth barrel that you guys picked while you were there?
it was actually still at Buffalo Trace.
Oh, another one there.
Buffalo Trace does
You did two
Weller
there.
Antique.
Weller Antique, which is called OWA,
Okay.
short for 107.
Where you saw Andrew.
Red Label.
Sure.
It has plenty names.
Yeah.
And
All
then
right.
the Buffalo Trace. So we did them both together, but kind of separate. We had the wives and had gone and taken a tour. And then by the time we were done with OWA pick, they came in and they picked the 107.
My wife was
mean,
more excited
Buffalo
about the
Trace.
tour.
Were you?
Yeah, my wife was.
Oh, your wife was.
Yeah,
okay.
she's really big into history, and Buffalo Trace has a lot of history. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of the only distilleries to remain open during Prohibition, and they've
Okay.
been around for a long time. So, and then the guy that gave her the tour, his name's Freddie, who, if you've ever seen any picture of Buffalo Trace, you've probably seen Freddie. His family's been involved with Buffalo Trace since forever. Every millionth barrel they roll out is a member of Freddie's family. So.
Wow.
She was super excited. She was like, I didn't want to come back and drink bourbon. I wanted to go on, like, learn more about the ghost tour and learn more about the buildings.
Yeah, I'm in for the
right.
ghost
Well,
tour, man.
Next time then, right?
Yep.
They said that there was a couple young girls that died in that house that they have up on the hill.
All right.
And they appear every now and then.
And then there's an old man with a dog, apparently.
I like it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go.
I like
know.
it a lot. Mike Dwyer's here. He's going to talk to us about travel. You got any of them stories about ghosts?
Sure.
So Wellers, right? I haven't had any. I haven't had Wellers. I've never.
They're hard to find.
Had a Wellers. Yeah. So I see lots of pictures posted on the Facebook page, on the Michigan Bourbon Club Facebook page, but I haven't had any. Is it now? Is that the step up from the Buffalo Trace, or is it again just
What is your step
taste
up
and your
from the
flavor
Buffalo
is?
Trace? Yeah.
Well, just like I said before, it's all in what you like to drink. So what you would consider a step up, I might not. I might
Of course
consider
not,
it a
yeah.
step down. But from the regular products that you can get on the shelf, to the next step up for me would be something you can't get on the shelf, like the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, like William Llewellyn or George D. Stagg or Sazerac 18 or something like that. Thomas Handy. That's my step up for in the Buffalo Trace line. There are all other distilleries that have the same thing. They have their normal line, and then they have their line that they release once a year, and a store may get 3 bottles of it.
Right.
So,
Wow.
That's it. That's all you get.
but
So it's like what I call it. It's literally like cheese. You like feta cheese? I like brie cheese. You know, they're both good. They're just slightly different.
Right.
You know, so there is step ups, but
Yeah.
you know, as far as quality goes, and then how long they've been aging,
Right.
the barrel proof, and then if it's chilled filtered or not. Those are the things that determine step up. You know, but you know, sometimes you get trapped in those things, and you actually can find something that's better value for the money.
Okay.
right.
You know, so you just have to know.
So I love the
I
Buffalo
mean-
Trace is reasonable and it's just yummy.
Just
Absolutely.
close your eyes and try it and
yeah,
see which
yeah,
one
right.
you really like. That's why blind
The best way
tastings
is blind.
are the best way, because then you're picking the best one for your palate.
Right. You don't care about cost. You don't care about what
Yeah.
the bottle looks like. You don't
Yeah.
care about what your friends said about it. You don't know what you're drinking, and you say, I like that one. And that could be the $1,000 bottle. It could be the $20 bottle.
I'm hoping for the $20 bottle. At least my wife
Absolutely.
is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right on. So, Pat, you want to plug in? You want to play another song? Because one of those old Beer on the Penguin songs was called Whiskey and Women. And I'm
Whiskey
like,
and
dude,
Women.
you got to come down and play Whiskey and Women for me. So, Beer on the Penguin was a band in the Metro Detroit area through the 90s, playing with, Second Self and Toby Red. And yeah, plug in. I'm just Phil. I'm filling. I'm just kind of
He's filling in for you, Pat.
filling. I'm riffing, man.
Kind of like what I did back in the day for you guys. When never mind, I won't go there.
Yeah. Oh no, we would DJ. It was great. Pat and I, it was Jamie James and Tool. We DJ'd a bar, Lipsticks, forever.
Lipsticks too.
And then Matthew
Yeah.
showed up and wanted to learn the DJ business, and it was like
I was 19.
we'd hand him a stack of CDs. Here, play this in this order. And Pat and I would wander the bar, occasionally run by and scream something obnoxious into the microphone. and then, it was
that's
good
how I
stuff,
learned to
man.
DJ.
And that's how I learned to DJ. And that's so we would abandon Matthew all the time. Patrick, you plugged in there. You good to go? A little Whiskey and Women.
Sounds great.
It was tuned when I bought it.
Disclaimer, this is a fictional tale of debauchery. Could possibly be somewhat true, but you figure it out for yourself. I pour my soul out into the bottom of a glass. Schooled in depression, finished top of the class. Never followed any rules, living hard and living fast. I ain't worried about the future, I ain't worried about the past. Whiskey and women, they don't mix. Whiskey and women, I need a fix. I got my bags in the back of my Cadillac. I got a week's worth of wages, I ain't ever looking back. Well, I walk into a smoke-filled barroom. A long-legged woman, she's surely my doom. Whiskey and women, they don't mix. Whiskey and women, I need a fix. Whiskey and women, they don't mix. they don't. Michigan women, I need a fix. Woke up in an alley with blood on my head. Got caught with my pants down in a married woman's bed. But it ain't no thing, I'll just be on my way. Another whiskey-soaked woman, another whiskey-soaked day. Whiskey and women, they don't mix. No, they don't. Whiskey and women, I need a fix. Yeah, I do. Whiskey and women, they don't mix. No way. Whiskey and women, I need a fix.
Thank you, Pat.
It's only been like 25 years from
I
that
know.
one.
I was gonna say, how long has it been since you're like in a studio with a mic in your face?
1991. 91.
So
Yeah.
besides,
I'll tell you how old I was in 1991.
yeah,
You were probably in elementary school still.
yeah.
Close enough.
How old were you when you started rolling in to cover for us when we were up to
That was
no good?
1994.
Okay,
So I was 19. You're welcome.
Thank you, Matt,
right on.
for being our designated DJ.
Right?
Now his girls are all in college.
Yeah.
Oh
One's
my
out of
gosh.
college. Two
Yeah.
in college. Man.
How old do we all feel?
Yeah, a little bit.
You
That's
look
crazy.
great. You both look great. Come
That's
on.
good stuff, man. You think you got one more in? You got anything else in you?
Well, let's see. Let's
One more?
see how it rolls. I don't know.
Hey, let's sip of water.
Well, yeah,
Sip of something
I
else.
don't know.
A little
Yeah.
sip of bourbon.
Yeah, let's chill.
All right, you want more?
We'll see.
All right.
Oh, you're trying to get it out of me right this second?
No, we'll talk travel.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Let's travel this way.
We'll travel. We'll travel.
Have a guitar. We'll travel.
Dead air. Nah, we're good. All right, so hey, thank you, Pat. I appreciate that, man. I love that you ventured down to the city, and yeah, so we're at the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're at the MusicTown
I was going to
Cafe.
say, Jamie, where are we?
Yeah, MusicTown inside of HockeyTown. So yeah, it's right downtown Detroit, right in the midst of all the stadiums. Paying $400 to park your car.
Eiserman keeps laughing at
Oh,
me
my
or looking at
God.
me over here in Lindstrom. They
So,
keep looking at me.
Parking in the city, but yeah, so they turned the second floor.
That's the Weller 107.
That's the Weller 107.
Oh, there it is.
See, it's a unicorn, right? Almost.
I don't know about you.
But hard to find. Generally hard to find. So, but
Next time we come up, we'll bring you a bottle.
oh, see, I love these
I
guys.
will make sure that you keep that promise.
So, but because there are a couple bottles here, you guys brought a couple bottles out, and I'd like to, do a little sip on each and have you tell us about them. But we're going to talk to Mike first. Mike Dwyer is here, and we're going to talk about Mike did a travel and adventure show for years and years, and now he's heavily involved in the Rochester community where you live. Communities letting the word out about cool stuff happening in the community in Rochester and Michigan in general. And so, Mike,
Yes.
what are you doing right now?
Yeah, welcome to the Man Cave
Mike
Happy
Dwyer,
Hour,
welcome.
man.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can't think of a better place to be with so many bottles of bourbon laying around. I'm surprised they're not gone already.
No, not yet.
We've only been here an hour. We're
That's
working
right.
on it.
So,
What are you doing right now, though, Mike?
So, it's hard to describe, and I know that most of these professionals in the room probably have a difficult time explaining it as well when you're asked, what do you do?
Mhm.
I do words, in
Okay.
person, in print, and online.
I like that. Okay.
So, but travel. You want
Yes.
to talk about Kentucky
Yeah,
and bourbon
yeah.
in Kentucky.
Because that's how
And
we met
traveling to Kentucky to get bourbon
here.
On the
Yes.
trail.
on the trail. Yeah, so there's an official Kentucky bourbon trail, and then there's just all the breweries or distilleries.
Sure.
So I recommend doing a little bit of both, but there's two heavily concentrated areas, Lexington and Louisville.
Okay.
I prefer Lexington, but you're going to find great distilleries and great bourbon all over Kentucky, except in Bourbon County, oddly enough.
Is it dry?
Well, there's no more distilleries there.
Oh,
That's
So
dry.
that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
It was
All of Kentucky was Bourbon County
Yeah.
back in the day.
So they put bourbon, Bourbon County, and then the whiskey just started becoming called bourbon.
Okay.
Because that's where it was being shipped from, and so everyone referred to the whiskey from Kentucky as bourbon.
Oh, okay.
And in 1964, the Congress made that official.
Oh.
That to be able to be called bourbon, it has to be from the United States.
Yeah, I really enjoy the things that our government sets its mind to sometimes. So there's an official proclamation somewhere.
I'm sure they were making a lot of money. That's when they start talking.
Yeah. When they could tax it moving in and out, it's probably when they came up with that resolution. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I prefer Lexington, but Louisville is great. And you were talking about Buffalo Trace. They're not one of the stops on the official Kentucky Bourbon Trail, but it is my favorite distillery to go to.
Okay.
Their tours are free. They've got several of them, including the historical and ghost tours, and they make some of the best bourbon, in my opinion. If you could only go to one the rest of your life, I would say it was Buffalo Trace.
Okay. That,
Patrick's over here nodding his head, and Tony's nodding his head a little bit as well.
But there is fine bourbon outside of Buffalo Trace as well, not to put anybody down. So
Sure.
Start with one and work your way through all of them.
So have you've done this at least once, or?
Well, there's 27 of them.
Yeah.
I haven't been to all of them. I've been to 4.
Okay.
So
I haven't been to any, so it's like, I keep hoping the wife will agree to a trip or at least a layover. Can we plan heading down to Florida? Maybe we do a layover and hit one.
Lexington is 6 hours door to door.
Yeah.
From here to there.
That's not bad.
Not at all. I mean, you could do it in a day and, stop by a distillery, on your way home, stop at the liquor barn, right? You get 6 bottles, you get the case price. You set yourself up for another year or month, depending on how much you drink, right?
Depending on how you roll.
Welcome to the Fox household, man.
So you were talking about Weller, the red label. The green label, I actually prefer. Weller's a wheated bourbon. It's a little softer.
Okay.
And I'm not big on all of these tasty notes. It tastes like a chunk of leather mixed with strawberries. I mean, is it good or is it bad? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
Right.
And you mentioned the tasting. Yeah, blind taste test. Figure out what you like the best.
Mm-hmm.
My girlfriend and I did that with a full range of bourbons, and we both picked blindly. Our favorite was Very Old Barton.
Okay.
Also brewed by Buffalo Trace.
All right.
$14 a bottle.
Hey.
We picked the cheapest one you could find.
There you go.
But second was Blanton's.
Okay.
And that's a very expensive
higher,
one.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Not very expensive, but higher.
So if someone wants to venture out and head down to Kentucky and wanted to try this, can they? Are there websites, or is there like when you stop off at that first rest stop across the state line, little maps that get you going, or what would you suggest?
So you can go online and do a little homework before you go. Just Google Buffalo Trace and Kentucky Bourbon Trail, because as I said, Buffalo Trace isn't on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. I'm not really sure why. Maybe just this company picked it, but they have 27 of the big distilleries, and then they have another track of craft distilleries.
Micros?
Micro distilleries.
Distilleries.
Or craft distilleries, the
Okay.
smaller ones. And I went through the list earlier today. I didn't recognize any of them.
Because I was actually, I kind of looked at that map and I'm seeing Corsair, I'm seeing Willet. Are those the micros that you're referring to, or are those the more the distilleries that are off the beaten path?
Well, Willet's probably off the beaten path. It's not a micro.
Okay. I was just curious because I was looking at the map. I'm not sure what would be considered a
I'm
micro.
talking about like probably 15 to 20 barrels
Right.
on hand.
On hand. Okay.
So
That's
as
how
a,
small.
That's
as a
micro.
retailer, Tony,
Micro.
do you ever pick any of those to bring up and have in your store?
They will have to be in Michigan in order for me to pick from them.
Oh,
Okay.
They would have to have a
because you can't move
distributor.
it through your store. You could just have it.
They
for
have to have a
personally.
distributor in Michigan that carries their product
Right. right.
in order
right,
for
right.
me to be able to pick from them.
Okay.
The state has to approve it. They have to have a distributor,
Can't take
and then
over
I could
lines,
buy
yeah.
from them.
So
they set me up to go to that distillery
right.
to pick one from them.
Huh.
But they have to be in Michigan first.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Mike?
So
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's Michigan has some strange laws with that distributor It's like 3 tiers, is that what they call it, to be able to get in the hands of us, the drinker.
Right.
That's why
Right.
going down there is such a good option.
Sure.
Going right to the distilleries to get those.
Go to the source.
Also, and they're not all available at the distilleries because they have to limit them as well with Kentucky laws. So you might have to go to the Liquor Barn, which is the one I recommend. They have just it's a warehouse of booze. You guys are probably familiar with the Liquor Barn.
It's like a Walmart full of alcohol.
Yeah.
Oh, Walmart full.
So
of
you got,
alcohol.
you know, if you want
It's crazy.
vodka or gin or bourbon or Irish whiskey, whatever I prefer the dark ones, as Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation will say.
Yeah.
Clear liquor is for women on diets. I can say that in this room,
Yes, you
can't I?
can.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good for men on diets.
Well, the darker the better. I think people prefer that with their beverages. Across the board with cider and beer, and I think whiskey as well.
So you've been to 4 distilleries. You did the Buffalo Trace. What other ones have you visited? What were your experiences?
Woodford Reserve.
Okay.
That's a classic.
Good old Woodford. Yep.
Yeah.
Town Branch.
Okay.
4 Roses.
All
Four
right.
Roses. I did see Four Roses on the air.
And 4 Roses is a very nice one too. I mean, they're all really good. You should hit them all.
Sure.
I have not been disappointed by any of the distilleries that I've been to. And what's nice about the tasting at the end is you get to find some of those rarities that you wouldn't find just at a bar in Michigan or on the shelf, in one of the other states. So, for example, Town Branch has something called Bluegrass Sundown. Are you guys familiar with that?
I have not.
No, 'cause you can't get it in Michigan.
Oh, there you go.
It is a concentrated type of bourbon that is really thick, and you mix it with hot water, and you pour a layer of heavy whipping cream on the top, and then you get very nice sensations as you drink it. So you get the sweetness of the cream, and then the more bitter taste of the bourbon, and it's warm. It's a great after dinner
I was gonna
drink.
say, it sounds like a really good after dinner drink. It really does.
So I have one of those with a big bowl of ice cream, and over the ice cream I put bourbon cream,
Okay.
which you get at Buffalo Trace.
All right. Is like a Bailey's sort of thing, but
Yeah,
with,
right? Yeah, it would be the same type
Bourbon
of
cream.
thing, but
Wow.
but
Your Irish is
higher
killer, Jamie.
quality.
yeah. Wow. Right on. So is there anything like really, really interesting at one of those distilleries that was like that they did differently than the other places that you noticed? You got to go into something interesting or
Well, Woodford has a very nice cafe.
Okay.
So you can sit down and have a nice meal there. It's gorgeous. There's as well as Four Roses is extremely pretty. And these are old classic buildings. I mean, most of them have been around for a couple hundred years. The prices are anywhere from $5 to $20, $25 for the tours, except for Buffalo Trace, which are free.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So there's a price tag on most of them then.
There is.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Some of them, like I think Jim Beam has a high-end $200 tour,
Ooh.
VIP, behind the scenes.
My wife would leave me there. Just pin $200 in my shirt and say, "See ya."
So if you're really asking about the difference between the distilleries,
Yeah.
it's pretty much what they do, the process, how they do things
Yeah.
to turn their bourbon different than the guy next door or
Right.
down the street, shall we say.
Right.
So some people play with yeast stream, some people play with, the mash bills, and so, 46 does the staves. So they all have their kind of say a niche to turn their bourbon taste differently than the other guy.
Right.
But then there is just a regular stuff that they do too. So the difference is what's the mash bill, what's a yeast stream, and then how the process is done, how long is it aged, where is it aged, what they do to it, do they finish it or not.
Yeah.
That will, all these things determines. You could have one mash bill, like Maker's Mark, only have one mash bill and does 4 or 5 different things.
Right.
And they can actually turn it to a lot more than that. Just by changing the alcohol level and how they finish it, it can change the whiskey at the
Wow.
end.
All right. So, Mike, you say you deal in words. Tell me about your word dealing. What are you doing now? So you're right. You're writing, right? And you're doing things to bring attention to cool stuff happening in your community, right?
Yes, in the Rochester Hills, Oakland Township area, we cover all things in and around. Could be the local happenings, some boring stuff like school board meetings and what city council decides.
Sure.
But things like the boil water advisory that came out this morning. So it's good to come here and get water and bourbon because I couldn't have that at home. Well, I could have the bourbon. But
Have to keep it neat.
Yeah, I have to keep it real.
it's hard
neat.
to make coffee with bourbon.
Yeah.
So, words, and I still do travel writing and
Okay. So where do you just freelance, or will people find your stuff in a particular place?
Well, if people really want to find me, they can Google my name, Michael Dwyer, and the word travel, and they'll probably find things.
Okay.
I've written for Neighborhood Scene, American Road Magazine,
Right.
Draft Magazine, Hilton Moments Magazine, Travel World International Magazine, a lot of stuff with Rochester Media and the Community Edge, some local stuff like the Oakland Press and Suburban Lifestyle, smaller papers. So,
What was your greatest writing adventure to go and do and cover?
well, to cover, I'd say I always love going to Kentucky, and that's not a far destination. So
Okay.
if we want to think about far destination, Wales, Spain, France, those were always good stories. Wales has just a ton of castles and a lot of sheep, more sheep than people.
So you went there and you did some writing about that.
Yes, I wrote about the.
So was it a
touring
trip, or
castles.
did somebody send you, or
Somebody sent me.
nice?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So what did you end up writing about? What did you see there?
Touring the castles, as well as the opening of the Millennium Center in Cardiff.
Okay. What's that?
Um,
Should I know?
It's like an arena.
Okay.
It's a big arena. It's really a funny story because they brought in journalists from I think 26 different nations
Okay.
for the opening of the Millennium Center, and they had all kinds of singing and performances and all this going on outside. It was raining, so they take us inside. Right, we'd been traveling for 2 weeks. Some people longer. This was the highlight of the adventure.
The pinnacle of everything. Yes.
Yes, and the equivalent of the Secret Service had just swept the building for the Queen because she was visiting the next day. We couldn't get in.
Yeah. My goodness.
So I wrote about it, never saw the inside.
I'm at Cardiff. We're at Cardiff.
The outside is gorgeous. If you watch any British television like Doctor Who or Torchwood or anything that takes place in Wales,
At Cardiff, right?
you'll see the Millennium Center there
Okay.
in the background.
Right on. So in your
Nice reference.
on
Yes.
your shelf at home, what's your favorite bourbon that's on your shelf at home right now?
Well, I mentioned the very old Barton. I've got bottles and bottles of that. And I got Elijah Craig, Colonel Taylor, Blanton's. We've got something called Kentucky Silk,
Okay.
which I don't know where that came from. It was a gift.
Mhm.
I haven't opened it yet.
All right.
Waiting
Waiting for a surprise.
Knob
Yeah.
Creek, several different Knob Creeks,
Okay.
Four Roses. I like all three that they have the barrel strength, the yellow label, as well as the small batch. And the small batch is one of my favorites. For the price, it's only a little more than the yellow label, and not as expensive as the
Okay.
barrel strength.
All right. Right on. Michael, thank you. Thanks for coming in and hanging out, talking a little travel with us.
Sure, absolutely, my pleasure. We
Appreciate
can always include horse racing next time if you want to get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
So yeah, because Woodford's the sponsor.
Woodford is the-
there's a Woodford race at the Kentucky
Kentucky
Derby,
There is
Derby,
right? They
the
sponsor one of
Woodford
the
Reserve.
races.
It's the race run just before the Kentucky
Yeah.
Derby.
Derby, right.
Yeah, they're heavy. They're heavy into that.
And it's the official bourbon now of the event. It used to be
Yeah.
early times,
Right.
Sure.
and now it's Woodford, and it makes sense because they've been a sponsor of the race at one race. Now they're a sponsor of the entire event.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on.
Good stuff. But
So
thank
we
you.
got Pat. Are you feeling it?
My tank's empty, brother.
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying the
That's
weather.
good.
His tank is empty.
That is it.
You're
I
spent.
I appreciate you getting down here and talking about that. So we have a couple of bottles here, right? Patrick, Tony. Were these just for window decoration, or were we to try these and were you going to tell us a little bit about what was going on? Or was this to keep you, this would just keep you lubed up while we were doing it?
Well, we don't go anywhere without drinking.
You're in good company,
Right
man.
on. So the Buffalo Trace. All right, so we have the Buffalo Trace here, and that's the Wine Garden.
That's the Brotherhood.
Brotherhood of the
yep.
Barrel.
All right.
That's the things you'll.
That was
Elijah
the
Craig?
Elijah Craig. That was the Elijah Craig I threw at you there.
All right.
So we're gonna do all
we're
this.
passing
neat.
the
So there's
Buffalo
no ice
Trace
cubes in
around,
sight.
and we're gonna give this a little shot. And so so now I've gone to Kroger and I've picked up the Buffalo Trace, and I had it there on my shelf. And
Just passing it around.
So this is going to have a slightly different taste than what I'm used to, because this is your store pick.
Yeah, so that's one of the store picks that I
Okay.
have. This is one of the 4 barrels that we recently got.
Okay. So you have like 4 different barrels. Are they all available in your store right now, or did they get snatched up by all these Bourbon Club boys over
Well,
here?
it's both. So
Okay.
so actually the Michigan Bourbon Club did pick with those 4 barrels. with
Okay.
us.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and that's the whole beauty about it, is getting more people involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get different guys to come in, they get to pick, and then they put their words on this barrel, what it tastes like, how we pick it, and it actually gets them more engaged in the process, sort of like having new kids of the bourbon. you
Right.
know?
All right. So now the glass, right? They call this a dram. Is that correct?
They call that Glencairn glass.
Glencairn glass.
It's
All right. It's like a tulip shape almost.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tulip shaped glass, a small. So what is this is supposed to bring out the aromas more? Is that the
It funnels the aroma up into the top, so you can stick your nose. You're supposed to stick your nose in it. Usually, you'll
Take a sniff.
breathe in through mouth open. Otherwise, the alcohol gets trapped, and all you taste is burn.
okay?
So I usually nose it with my nose, both nostrils a couple times, and then side to side, because you'll pick up small different things that you might not
Little
have picked up with
variations
both-
of something
both
else?
nostrils. You just, I smell a little bit of caramel. Oh, I smell a little bit of vanilla. Oh, I smell a little.
The edge of my
leathery.
glass picked up a little something there on that
Right.
last one, but all right.
So yeah, it's awesome. I love the Glencairn. There's a couple different styles that people use, but this is the most popular one. Most
Okay.
people have a Glencairn if they're into bourbon anyway.
Right, right.
Because most of the time, like beer drinkers have the different glasses for different types of beers,
Sure.
right? And there's a reason why they're made that way.
Right, right.
There's a reason why the Glencairn is made that way.
So, and these are because we do have some water here. We could drop some water in it if we wanted to. But so generally, Patrick, when you're drinking it, just straight out of the bottle, do you water it down or throw ice in it ever?
No, I usually don't water anything down. Technically, you're not supposed. I mean, you can do whatever you want. If you
Right.
think it needs water, then by all means, add water if it tastes better that way to you. But the master distiller, who is a lot better at bourbon things than we all are combined,
Right.
has decided that this tastes best at 90 proof. Or
Okay.
that tastes best at 107 proof,
Right,
or
right.
it tastes best at 150 or 144 proof, or something like that. So,
They say when you add a water to it or a drop of water to it, it opens it up.
correct.
Right? So you get a different flavor of it every single time you add something to it.
Right.
But I'm a neat guy. I want that full body, flavor, that taste. Whatever's going to hit me is going to hit me.
Right.
You know?
I feel the same way. So
Yeah.
sometimes if it's just too hot, nothing's really too hot for me anymore. But if it is, it's because we've been drinking for 4 days straight in Kentucky. And like the last day in Kentucky, I didn't have one bourbon. I drank Coors Light. I couldn't do bourbon
It
anymore.
had the same effect. didn't
Too
it?
much. So,
And to pump the brain.
yeah. So,
Yeah, slow down, man.
Go from that really good bourbon to a Coors Light.
yeah, absolutely.
it.
There's nothing wrong with the silver bullet. I can tell you that.
Well, I think neat is the best way to drink it
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well. And I do like the idea of a splash of water as per
needed.
directed by official whiskey drinkers. It's hard to get a bartender to actually do that correctly, is in my experience. So ordering it neat. And sometimes I will ask for ice on the side, and
Yeah.
it may take just a small ice cube, but you should really never, am I right, add ice to bourbon.
Makes it last longer.
You
I
add
mean.
as much as you want, as long as you buy it and drink it.
As long as-
Really, there's no right or wrong
Sure.
answer. Okay, so I mean, when you drink bourbon so much, you intend to go away from having ice or water in there, but it doesn't make you a bad guy or a good guy. You drink it the way you want to. The master distiller is going to tell you, hey, as long as you buy this bottle, you drink it the way you want to.
Mhm.
But I mean, because we've been drinking bourbon more often, maybe yourself, we intend to drink it more neat. But
Mhm.
if you want to drop a little bit of water in there to bring it down in alcohol, it does make it
I love that.
it does make it a little bit smoother because there's less alcohol in it.
built-in sound effect.
Right. I like to rinse my bourbon glass with some cold water and
Mhm.
then pour it out, and then you just have a thin layer on the inside.
Mm.
And I find that's sufficient enough for drinking neat.
That's nice. Yeah.
I like when the
It's a
bourbon
nice
glass
tip.
is empty
Yeah.
and it's sitting there and it's kind of dried and crusty. You can smell it so much more for some reason. The
Oh.
flavors
Really?
change it because it all oxidizes while it's sitting there. So
I have to try
it's
that.
really cool to leave. You forgot about your bourbon glass and you go outside for a little bit. You come back, you're like,
How did you
Oh,
forget
man,
about your
that's-
bourbon, man?
well, it was empty.
Oh,
It
okay,
was
fair
free.
enough.
You
All
didn't
right,
go
fair
wash it. You
enough. All right,
forgot
fair
to
enough.
take it to the sink. I guess.
Yeah.
That's right. More
Hey,
silver bullet.
there's nothing
in
wrong
the
with Mount
garage.
Wilson, all right?
So
So if you go to Lexington and you don't know which distillery to go to, maybe on your first night,
Yeah.
you go to the Bluegrass Inn in Lexington, the Bluegrass Tavern. They have hundreds and hundreds of bourbons, only bourbons.
Really?
And they have menus that are pages long. Have you guys been to the Bluegrass Tavern in
I
Lexington?
have not.
No.
Oh, it's really dingy, except for the bar, and it's just loads and loads of bottles, almost everything you could possibly imagine, from a couple dollars a glass to $100 a glass if you want the Pappy Van Winkle.
Ah, they got the Pappy there. That's a unicorn, though, right? What I'm learning, it's that's a really hard to find one.
Yeah, I would say you could call that a unicorn.
Yeah.
It's just because there's less of it. It's it takes at least 10 years to make the Rip Van Winkle. So, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they weren't really prepared for this massive boom.
Sure.
It's not just in the United States, but it's in Asia, Europe,
Right.
everywhere you go. People just want to drink more bourbon.
And so Angel's Envy is feeling that growing pains as well, and they're trying to accommodate that, right?
Yeah, they are. They ran on a little bit of a drier spill.
Yeah.
Either that, or they maybe took the that many bottles and opened another country with, or
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of wheels working.
Right.
So it depends. I mean, it's a unicorn. I mean, it is a good bourbon. It's a great
Sure.
bourbon.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it takes 10 years to get a bourbon.
Mhm.
I mean, that's part of it. And they were not really prepared for this boom.
You can get the green label Weller and hold on to it. It's
That
the same
won't-
recipe.
That will not do it because that's off the barrel. So,
Yeah, once it's out of
that
the barrel,
will-
game over, right?
Yeah.
So say a bourbon, once it's in the bottle, it's not really going to age.
no bottle ages
Right.
outside. Wine does.
Yes.
The wine does
Yeah.
because the yeast is alive in there,
Okay.
and then the yeast keeps eating all that sugar, and turns the. But spirits, because is distilled at such a high level, like the corn is probably at 180 degrees
Sure.
distilled. That really kill everything in it. That's why they tell you you're never gonna get sick from drinking from each other.
Right.
So what I just grabbed the Elijah Craig. What can you tell me about this one?
the Elijah Craig that we have here is a small batch, so it's not a single barrel.
Okay.
It's a bunch of barrels mixed together, and I don't know what Elijah Craig. You know how many barrels it is for the small batch?
About 50 barrels blended, but so they brought us 3 different batches that they had. So 350 barrels together.
Okay.
I don't know the exact amount of barrels, so I maybe shouldn't be saying that.
Uh-huh.
But that's what a small batch means.
Right.
Okay.
It's a small batch of a big batch.
But when you think it is a national distribution, 50 barrels is a smaller batch.
And small batch can have a wide meaning. A small batch could be a swimming pool
Sure.
full of bourbon.
Small
right.
batch could be meaning 300
Get me a
barrels
straw.
if you're blending 1,000 together.
Right.
Okay.
So that's a Ledge Craig small
Right.
batch. We picked that a couple months back, and it was just a couple of us at the store. They sent us samples,
Sure.
as he said. So there was 3 batches to pick from.
Okay.
And they didn't tell us the age. They let us pretty much pick blind by nose and taste. And I think that one ended up being the second oldest one. I think it's 8 years old, right?
8.5.
8.5 years old. There was a 9+ year old, and then there was a younger one. But it was really good.
So it was cool. And right on the label, it tells you that it was in the warehouse H
Yep.
on floor 5.
Yep.
So it
was a little bit
tells you-
higher up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was higher up. And like we said earlier, so the higher up it goes,
Yeah.
the more it tastes like it's an older bourbon.
Right,
That's what it's
right.
supposed to sound.
I had no idea how many barrels of bourbon, are being warehoused and stored until the tragedy of a couple weeks ago
It's insane.
at the 1795, and one of the warehouses half collapsed.
It's
And-
full. On the 4th of July, the rest of it collapsed.
Oh, did it?
Oh,
They weren't able to just wow.
Who knows
okay.
what happened?
Yeah. So they're salvaging barrels.
If you look at the picture on the left side
The
of
chart.
the one that everybody's seeing, you see barrels lined up, and I think those are the ones that are being saved.
Yeah.
So,
but
just
they
like
don't. But then they don't know what floor it was on.
yeah, they do. Each
Or
barrel
they're-
has a number on it.
Oh,
So
it's
they
all
know
cataloged.
yeah.
exactly
Okay.
where
it's
So
all
it is.
yeah, the
cataloged.
catalog. All right. So maybe they do. And they're not like me. I'd be like, oh shoot, where were those?
So it's
And
gonna
that was
be like-
1792. That was all 1792.
They were
Barton.
all 17.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So did the price just
Spike.
skyrocket?
Yeah.
They'll all be the same. Just like when was that when the tornado hit Buffalo Trace?
Oh really?
A while
7,
back.
8 years ago?
Yeah. So a tornado went through warehouse H, right?
Yep.
And Buffalo Trace, and the barrels that survived, they barreled them separately and called them tornado survivors.
The roof actually blew off.
Wow, that's
And then
great.
It left some of them exposed.
Sure.
They couldn't. It was wintertime, so they couldn't really put a roof on right away.
Oh.
So what they did is they just left it exposed. They thought that they had lost all the whiskey,
Sure.
so they called it those barrels that survived tornado survivors.
Ah.
And that bottle is going on the secondary market for about $1,500 because they cannot repeat that process.
Sure. Yeah, but have you ever sampled it? Have you ever tried a
I have
tornado
not.
survivor?
No, I mean,
I can't imagine it's like
It's supposed to be
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then of course, it could be your eyes and your ears and
Sure.
what you see is
Yeah.
a tornado, so you're like, this has to be good.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You're fooling yourself.
I just paid $90 for this shot.
But, yeah.
For an act
This
of God.
poor.
But when the bottles came out, they were $70-$80
Yeah.
minimum, and
Wow.
now they're like you said on secondary market, they're $1,500.
That's wild.
So, and I've heard it's good from reliable.
It
sources,
blows
so.
you away.
Have
You
you?
drink too much, you get the spins.
The puns are free.
Ba-dum-bumps.
The puns are
I
free.
mean, it's subjective. It's like collecting, collecting anything.
Yeah.
There's people that
Yeah.
they like collect old cars. They'll spend $1 million
Yeah.
on a car that they're not even gonna probably drive one day.
Right,
They just
right,
want to
right.
put it up there. So it is. I mean, bourbon technically is the same way. Is what
Mm-hmm.
you love and what you like to do with it. You want to drink it, you can. You want to spend $1,000, you can. You can spend $10, $20, you can. That's what makes it beauty, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm. Right.
yeah.
So I just looked across the way and I see another bottle here. It's Brotherhood of the Barrel.
Yeah.
But it's the old
Right
Scout.
on the label. Right,
Yeah,
on,
right
the
on the
label.
label.
That's cool.
So-
There you go.
Old
Matt.
Scout 107. Tell me
I'll
about.
let, I'll let Patrick talk about
Yeah,
it.
tell me about this.
The Old Scout is a smooth ambler, and they do a lot of different whiskeys and bourbons. And some of their stuff is really tasty. I haven't had all the stuff, that's why I say some of it. So some of it, all of it could be great. But we did tasting down here at La Casa
Okay.
several months back, and Smooth Ambler came and they said we want you guys to get a barrel to the wine garden. Tony said, "Hey, you guys interested in a Smooth Ambler barrel?" We're like, "Absolutely." So they put us up and they gave us 5 different batches again to choose from, just like Elijah Craig. There was batches. So this is a batch of whiskey, and we sat around, we smoked cigars, we drank whiskey, and
All right. So what did you smoke? cigar wise? Do you remember?
No, that was a rough day. That also happened to be the day we released our Jack Daniel's barrel.
Oh,
So
all right.
we were all at the wine garden, and there's people coming in, and we were having a good time
Of course.
in the
Yeah.
lounge.
All right, fair enough.
And then we went and picked that. So it was a good day all around. So
I'll let you think about it next time we talk. Let me know.
probably something good. I don't. No swishers here.
Right.
So, but the Old Scout 107 is an American whiskey, 107 proof, just like the Old Weller Antique, 107 proof.
Yeah, it says 107 on the label there.
It is really good. Like a lot of people, it's not the popular brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Buffalo Trace. It's not an Old Weller Antique. So some people are, they're kind of iffy about it. But our guys, we sold all the bottles really quickly, and everyone so far, nobody's really said anything bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like it. It's excellent. And at 107 proof, it'll catch up to you really quick.
Now, Mike, have you partook in this, or are you partaking in it first time here?
Anybody?
And that is as the sticker denotes on the side. We make our own stickers which is not not rare for everybody makes their own stickers now, but that was barrel number 5. So we have Johnny 5 on the side.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what
more
that
input.
was. Barrel 5 is a
All
lot.
right.
So we try and name our barrels just to kind of set us apart, which everybody does it. So is it really setting you apart? But we think of something that reminds us of that time, or and plus it's cool to have your own sticker on a bottle of bourbon.
It's got the barrel number on the back,
Yep.
10329.
Yep.
Love it.
Okay.
Is it your opinion that bourbon has to be from Kentucky?
Well, bourbon is a term that can be defined by the government. So
As
it
we
has to
mentioned,
be
Yeah.
XYZ to be called bourbon. So I don't think it doesn't have to be from Kentucky.
yeah, not
In my
by the
opinion,
rules of
Most
1964,
bourbon
but
tastes best if it's from Kentucky because of the temperature.
the temperature, the water, the
It's like
limestone.
the 45th
filtration
parallel of
process.
wine, right?
Kentucky is very, very well defined 4 seasons. Unlike us, we have 2.
Right.
Winter and then
Whatever.
whatever this is,
Yeah.
cones, and so they have all 4. So they do well. Like when we were at Jack Daniel's, they were explaining to us how the season is actually very different than in Kentucky. So
Fruit spray.
they do their own thing down there.
Sorry.
And
there's
is
a
there
lot going on with that.
is there an age that it has to be? Is there a minimum age
It's
for
got spice
burban
to it.
before you can call it bourbon?
Yeah,
2 years?
Yeah,
it's
2
spicy.
years.
What is most of it?
Most of it, at least 2 years.
Yeah, it has to be
If
at least
you-
2 years.
There's 8 rules to bourbon, and if you follow all of them, you'll become bourbon. If you follow all of them and you're in Kentucky, then you're Kentucky straight bourbon. So they just came out with that word, so people know that this came from Kentucky or it didn't. But the reason why, the cold winter and the hot summer and the water really makes Kentucky about the best place to, age bourbon. Tennessee is another one that has that same
Feel to it.
weather. They
Well,
can
and they
make.
barrel it differently as well, don't they?
I'm sorry.
Don't they barrel it differently?
No, the barreling is all the same. They are, they char the barrels differently, but that's opinion. So there's 3 chars that most people use: 3, 4, and 5. That's called the level of char. So it's depending how much heat you put, how much fire you put in a barrel. It chars the barrel from 3 to 4 or 5. So that's just techniques, different techniques compared to different distilleries, really.
Now, we mentioned Woodford Reserve, one of my favorite distilleries, and a very good bourbon. Their best product, in my opinion, is the double oaked.
Yes,
What makes it a double oaked?
2 barrels.
So they age it in one barrel,
Yeah, and then
and
they
then they
take
pull it
and
out
then
and put
put
it
it
in
in another barrel, fresh
it-
barrel.
just gives it a more oaky,
Yeah.
smoother flavor.
Yes. So for instance, I did a tequila from them in Mexico. It's called Herradura, and that one's called Double Oak. So it was a tequila that was in the bourbon barrel first, and then back in a brand new American oak barrel that's never seen any aging before of any sorts of spirits. So it's called a Double Oak. So 1 barrel, then they take and put it in another barrel. 9 months in one, 3 months in another.
Now, is that similar to Angel's Envy, where it's aged first in a virgin charred oak barrel and then aged again in a port barrel? Is
Well,
that how
that's
they
called
get
a finish.
So that's called a finish,
Correct.
and that's how they get that extra sweetness of the
Correct.
Angel's Envy.
So you can change the bourbon many ways. Once it's made, okay, then it determines where you put it in the warehouse. That changes the barrel. Then how long you age it in there, that changes the barrel. Then you could take the same recipe that you have right now and make 10 different barrels, put them on 10 floors of the warehouse. And when you pull on year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, they're all going to be different. Then you could take this barrel at 2 years old versus this barrel at 10 years old or 5 years old. They're all going to change. And then you take their proof. And if you water them down every time, you're going to have a different bourbon. So basically, you can take one recipe and turn it to 30 different brands. And they're all going to be different.
Based on 10 feet.
Based
great.
on...
how fun!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to do it a single barrel? Are you going to do it a barrel proof? Are you going to do it at this level? There's many things that can actually change the barrel, the end product, which is the whiskey. You know.
That's the only thing that's allowed to change the flavor is the barrel.
Yeah.
We call it bourbon. You can't add flavoring. You can't add coloring. You can't. You can't.
It's got to be pure, 51% corner.
Yeah, it has to be at least 51%.
Always the same recipe, just
an American white oak barrel and
At least 2 years of
2 years
aging.
of age.
right.
And what about Jefferson's aged at sea?
Yeah. They take it out for a joyride, right? Put it on a boat and take it for a joyride. I was thinking of like, what kind of stupid gimmick is that? Why would that make a difference? But depending on where
It's based on the sea level, I would imagine.
It
At that
ages
point, right?
quicker.
the
or
temperatures of
you
where
don't
it
have to wait
is,
as long.
is it all just
or is it a
shenanigans
gimmick?
and marketing?
No, it's not a gimmick. It's just like we've said before. It's just what they decide to do. You know, just like Buffalo Trace does one thing inside, they put it on a ship and they send it on a voyage, and you can actually on the tag it'll show you where it's been.
Oh my
And the whole time it's going.
It's just shifting back.
Inside the barrel, which in a rick house it's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because most places don't turn their barrels over.
And it's in quotes.
Let it sit.
Blended.
Yeah. So, yeah, Maker's Mark actually rotates.
They do?
So
Yeah.
one of their biggest things when they were there, they kept preaching to us was consistency. They can make the same product over and over and over again, which a lot of people don't want to do. Like Buffalo Trace likes that they make 30 different products.
Right.
Maker's Mark wants to make one product and they want to make it well, and they do. They, every Maker's bottle is going to taste almost exactly the same. So the top floor, it sits up here for a year and then it comes down.
You just rotate
down,
and
rotate them all.
Wow.
So,
All right.
but the voyage goes on a voyage, and that's what Jefferson has decided that they want to try and do. So it moves it around in the barrel and gives it a flavor from the sea, supposedly.
Sure.
Okay.
That's why they do blending.
Right.
Okay.
The reason why people were always blending, because they couldn't get a consistency level off of the barrel from the top to the barrel from the bottom of the warehouse.
Got it.
So what they just started to do is they started blending, and Blanton's was the first official single barrel that was sold at the store as a single barrel. Was the first one.
Buttons.
And that's
You said?
Blanton's.
Buttons.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought it was Elmer
I
T.
got one at
Lee.
the house.
No.
That was Blanton's?
Come on over.
Blanton's
Yeah.
was.
You got some?
Okay.
Yep.
I actually prefer Elmer T.
Elmer
Lee
T.
over
Lee's
Blanton's.
Elmer T. Lee right now is a small batch.
What about the Elmer T.
small
Fudd?
batch? Not considered a single barrel,
Correct.
and Blanton's is considered a single barrel.
Blanton's is always. That's why you see the date on there, the warehouse, and then the floor where the barrel set. It's literally one barrel at a time.
Gotcha. And they don't have a different version. It's single barrel or single barrel.
Yep.
Single barrel only.
And then the way they do different versions of Blanton's, though, there's I think there's 5 different colored labels. They just water it down.
Oh.
So you start with barrel proof, and then you water it down to the gold, which is 103, right? And then the next step down is ours at 93, and the next step down is the green one, I think at 80. And then they do some like special ones for like the whiskey festival in France, La Maison du Whiskey. They do a special, but that's barrel proof. So,
Wow.
There's like 5 different Blantons, but they all start the same as a single barrel at whatever proof it comes out, 132 proof, and then they water it down accordingly depending on what they want it to be.
So barrel strength means it's not been watered down at all.
Straight from the barrel.
Straight from the barrel.
That's what Blanton's calls their barrel proof, is straight from the barrel.
So, Tony, Patrick, you realize, because we're going to do this again, I'm going to ask you all the same questions.
Okay.
You'll have the same answer.
Yeah. We love talking about bourbon all the time. So
I'm a goldfish.
We could say
I got
something
about
now
a
and say
5-second memory. No, because it's a lot. There's so much
There's a lot
to know, and that's the whole reason. Matt and I we're doing this. It's like because I'm a novice. I like a good. I like the taste of it. I like a strong whiskey. I like a soft whiskey, and I like to drink them. But I don't know anything about it, and I thought it would be fun to learn about it. And in the last series, it got deep in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, it got very deep in here. It's going
I'm
over my
digging it.
head.
If you're going to drink, you should be an educated drunk.
That exactly. So I'm trying to figure it out.
just drink what you like. You don't have to know anything about it. Just grab a bottle, and if you like it, drink it.
I learned about sticks today, and they're called what?
Staves.
Staves, right?
Yeah,
So,
I remember that.
I know they're. Pat's just shaking his head at me. I know there were sticks, and it changes the
flavor.
taste,
Yeah.
the
I've
flavor. I don't want to say flavor because
I've actually taken
I see.
a tour to what they call independent staves. So I took one that equivalent to it, which is owned by Jack Daniels.
Oh.
And they show you the process from when you first cut the tree, they cut the tree, how they cut the lumber, how they sit outside to weather, and then how they are cut
Wow.
meticulously up in shape to form a barrel, and how one guy can put in 200 to 300 barrels a day
Wow. Okay.
together.
Jeez.
So one of my fraternity brothers, one of his college gigs, because I went U of M Dearborn, right across from the Henry Ford Museum. So he had a gig at Henry Ford. He was making barrels at Henry Ford, they weren't bourbon barrels, but they were just barrels for on site and props and the things. But he was like, he learned how to make barrels there.
So the only things that hold the barrels is the rings.
Yeah.
There really nothing holds them,
Right.
and they're so tight because they're
No
it's
Gorilla
like
Glue in
pressed
there?
together.
Yeah.
Wood.
Duct tape.
Yeah. No, that's the one thing you
Yeah,
can,
I love that passive. Yeah, it's like that.
okay.
Shut up, Jamie. It's like anytime, man. Just tell me to shut up.
What I'm getting from all of this is
Okay.
Pat, what do you
What-
guys
what
got?
did we learn
you
today?
guys got a gig
Yeah.
on here. They're like,
What
invite the
have we
experts in.
learned?
They'll talk about whiskey while we drink whiskey. Is what you're doing. What I get from
catching
it,
on.
though, what you're saying is, they said he's in. Who said Matt? You said you're a novice, right?
Yes, very much so.
I don't think there's such thing, right? It's what you like. So the way I look at it is, these guys are experts. Clearly, they know a lot. You know a lot about bourbon. I know what tastes good. It's kind of like driving a car. I don't need to know how to build it or what motor's in it. I'm
glad you said-
I like my truck.
I'm glad you
And when
said car.
Is no longer servicing me. I go buy a new truck. So bourbon's that
I'm
way
glad
for
you
me.
said
My
truck
brother is a
again.
bourbon connoisseur and expert, I would say. Last time he was in town, he got a glass of Pappy Van Winkle for his birthday. His wife bought him last summer. And I was like, what did you pay for that? I got some Maker's Mark that tastes pretty darn good to me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of how I view
Which
it. But
they're
that's what-
both weeded, by the way.
Ah,
they're
there you
both
go.
what?
They're both weeded recipes.
Okay, yeah. So, it tastes good to me. I couldn't see the price, but he did. He enjoyed it. He said he sat there and enjoyed it. He said it was the best birthday present he ever got.
Wow.
So,
Well, maybe second best.
But that's great. That's great.
Well, that's what Pat learned. I love it.
Now you know what to ask for your birthday.
It is. I mean, it is a community. Bourbon is a community. Really.
It
And, when people come in and ask, at the store, and I love telling them how it starts and how it ends and where it goes, and and it just makes you feel like a part of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you can't do that with vodka because it's either potato or,
One day,
or
right.
No, but it's it's so trite. You have those little labels that say Brotherhood of the Barrel and whatever. But with the Michigan Bourbon Club, and people are sharing not just, hey, look, I bought this bottle, not naughty, but they're crotch shots. Right. So someone buys something at a store and they get in the car and they take a picture of it. The first several I saw, I was like, what are you, F-tard? What are you doing? It's like you're going to get arrested for having it. But they just take a picture of it after they came out of the store. Then they put it back in the bag, hopefully,
Right.
and tuck it away for the drive. Hopefully not putting straws in it for the ride. But, but there's a lot of pictures of hey, this is what's in my bar at home. This is what I just picked up at the store. But then the Brotherhood of the Barrel really kicks in. It's like, hey, my son was just born. Or hey, it's our anniversary. My wife and I shared this, and it really becomes. It's actually kind of warm and fuzzy, and it is. The people are really sharing their stories and sharing their lives through this, and there's bourbon behind all of it, but it's really cute. It's really sweet.
Yep, and that's what.
No, it's Michigan
Bourbon Club and the Wine Garden partnered up to do the Brotherhood of the Barrel. But that's what I was going to say. We really stress the community aspect. We all do love to drink, but I've met now some of my best friends I'll probably have for the rest of my life through the Michigan Bourbon Club.
Who just finished a big deck. One of the moderators, I think, just finished like a big deck, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to have people over."
Oh yeah, that'd be John Cadwell.
Yeah,
just finished. He lives out in Novi area.
Yeah,
but and it's sometimes I post bottles that people don't see a lot, and sometimes I feel like I come across like I'm bragging, and I'm not trying to. And some people have said that, and I've seen other people do the same thing, and it's like, it's like you're a little kid and you just got the very first Nintendo, right? You want to show all your friends, like, look what I just got, this is amazing. And then what I do is I go home and it either sits on my shelf for a little while because it was $700 and it's not a bottle you're going to open on Tuesday, but then when I do open it, I go to Travis's house or I go to Joe's house and we open the bottle together because I don't want to sit there and drink a $1,000 bottle by myself. It's kind of sad, I want to share it with my friends. For some.
Are bourbon clubs nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Can you buy bourbon without paying sales tax?
No, we pay. We have to buy tax.
You might be trying to skirt the issue. That's a like just the way question, you think, brother man. Yeah.
So we really try to stress. We want everyone to feel welcome, whether they're drinking Early Times or Buffalo Trace or Michter's 20, which is super expensive, or Tony's favorite bottle, the Pappy 25. So. Whatever you're drinking, you're more than welcome, and we want you to feel welcome, and we don't want you to feel shy.
If you bring a bottle of Pappy 25, you're really welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come over to my house anytime.
You are welcome to come and join the man cave for sure.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So, wow, man, we're like rolling on time.
Yep.
You done?
Oh yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Fair play. I love Pat Akerley. Can I just say that for the record, out loud and into a microphone?
You got me down here?
I've done that before, though. I love Pat Akerley. All right, so
He's
Tony,
been trying to for a long time, actually.
So that was good. It was a long-legged woman, another whiskey-soaked day. You blew the lyrics.
Did I tell you this morning? I forgot one line. In
was that the one?
That was the one.
Oh, fair play. All right. Anyway. I love you. See, we're drinking. I love you. But no. All right. So, Tony, we're going to wrap it up in a second. But tell me a little bit more about the wine garden, because I was in there one day and then you weren't there. But your staff is amazing and wonderful. I think it was a Thursday. And there's a little older cat, and he was doing wines. And he was like, hey, do you want to try this wine? And I'm like, is this like a dude with like a puppy in a Jeep? It's like, hey, come here. You want to step in the cooler for a minute? And I thought of like, it was like good touch, bad touch going to happen. But no, he actually had wines to taste. Is that Thursdays?
Yeah, so we call it Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday.
And so he had a couple of cheese, a little bit, or like crackers or something out there. And he had a wine. He told me a little bit about the wine. It was like not like some super special, crazy wine. It was just an average priced bottle. And he was just showcasing that bottle. So what is that? Who's that guy? Who was that guy?
His name is Dick. He works at the wine garden.
Yes.
And he's been in the wine business for over 50 years. So
okay.
He's been around for a while.
So nice. Good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Very super nice guy.
Yeah.
So the concept behind it is put different wine in people's mouth to change their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, if I go to give them a bottle of wine and they're like, well, I've never really tried this, I'll pass. But if every time they come to the store and they taste something different, their palate is going to get educated.
Right.
And they're going to go start looking for these ounces that they found in that wine.
Yeah.
So they get to try it for free. Okay. And then, from there, they get to pick what they want if they don't pick up that bottle.
Mm. And Dick is very knowledgeable. And he was like, well, you don't like this. What do you like?
Yes.
And he's like, well, I could tell you what we have here. You could do this, this, or this. and you would probably dig it. He was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's actually, and the first time I came to the store, is because I lived over there, but we'd been renting out the house, and Pat lived right there too. He lived on Rosedale.
Oh.
So we were both like,
Where's the store at?
the Wally's
South
custard
Orlando.
thing that went up there, and there used to be a hall, that crazy hall that went. Yeah. Anyway, it's a
Chateau
very odd shaped building.
It was called Chateau Rouge.
Yeah, that was it.
I remember. Okay.
Yeah. But the first time I came in there is because I was like at the Renters, and I'm like, oh crap. And so I was grabbing something on the way home, and I stopped in, and I was chatting you up, and I was talking about, I want to pick up a bourbon. And you were just very cordial. I had never met you before. You didn't know who I was
nice
from
to you,
Madden.
Jamie.
I wasn't a regular customer or anything. And you pulled a bottle out, and you said, "We try it," unless this is legal and I can't say it. But you pulled a bottle out, and you're like, "Let's try this." And if you like it, this is the kind of stuff you'd like. And you gave me a little sip of something, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I walked out with a bottle of something. I forget what it was, but it was great. And that's how I found out about the Michigan Bourbon Club, because I started following the Wine Garden on the social media, and all the bourbon stuff started popping up, and that's how I found out about these guys. And so I just thank you, because it's you run a nice shop, and it's not just because you're here feeding me whiskey tonight. That's how I found out about you.
I mean, listen. At the end of the day, like, I want to have that experience with every customer. So what Dick was doing, this is what I do in the bourbon, he's doing in the wine.
Entirely unsolicited, but thank you. You run a nice shop, and
Thank you.
It was very.
We take pride in
cozy.
what we do. I mean, this is my livelihood. This is what I'm feeding my kids, my family, my brother's family, my mom and dad. That this is where we make our living. So we have to be. I want to be even better at what we do. Learning, sharing those experiences with you today, the stories. It's part of the brotherhood, right? I mean, when we pick that barrel, we're brothers picking up the same barrel.
Yeah,
brotherhood of the barrel.
Nice.
So that's how we really came up with that name. It's you see the Michigan logo on it. You see the heart right on top of St. Clair Shores is where we're from. We take pride in this. We really do. We do a lot of studying about the product, knowing where it comes from, how it's made, pretty much. And then if there is a ghost story, tell that too.
Yeah.
So we're going to do more of this. We're going to come to the Wine Garden. We're going to do more here at MusicTown, downtown Detroit, HockeyTown Cafe, second floor. The incredible people. We got our folks back there.
Ryan is amazing. Thank you, Ryan, for everything, man.
Ryan, we got a
Appreciate
man
you.
crush on
Yes.
you. And Annie. Annie's still here. No. Anyway, Annie's
She's around.
awesome. Annie, she's gone. Annie was like, enough of that shenanigans.
I want to thank you guys for the invite. This has been a great opportunity for us to come in and hang out.
Oh my God, no, we're going to do more.
And,
we're going to do more here. We're going to do more in the store, and just let people know what's going on. It's mancavehappyhour.com and all the social medias. Is there a Facebook, Michigan Bourbon Club?
Michigan Bourbon Club, yep.
So there's a rigorous acceptance policy. You just have to say, hey, I would like to be involved, and then they say
we do want people to be involved, so we make them answer a couple questions.
Sure.
We just don't want you to click on, we want you to work a little bit, because we want you to be involved. We don't want you to be a lurker, but if you want to be a lurker and you just want to learn and read, that's fine too. So
perfect.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
Michael Dwyer, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Yes, and we want to hear some ghost stories.
Yes.
So we would love to have you come back.
Travel ghost stories next time.
Yes, travel ghost stories. So let's tease that.
Man. Doesn't have to be Michigan. Yeah, so if you're Michigan, Southeast Michigan, St. Clair Shores, the Wine Garden is on Harper, south of 9, near Gilbert's. M&M used to work there and pee in people's food. So there you go. Right?
Wow, look at you, Mr. History. All right.
Yeah. Jody Raffoul and his boys played up there. Greasy and his guys, they still play up there. Greasy and those boys still play like on Thursdays at Gilbert's. Anyway, Pat, thanks for coming in. The new theme song is cut.
Yes.
I am so happy.
Thanks, Pat.
Maybe we'll come in and recut that on a little less whiskey-soaked day. But thank you for coming in.
It's always good to see you, Pat.
Matt Fox.
James Flanagan.
You're a sexy beast.
You're sexier than I am. Just because of the goatee. That's
it. All right. Again, mancavehappyhour.com, and we'll do it again. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Cheers.